Could you go to the back? Thank you.
Are you already in the back? You're good? Okay.
I'm ready for your questions, Joe. Nah, I'm ready for you.
All right, y'all, we're going to get started. So, dear students, candidates, and John Jay community, both in person and via the live stream, thank you for being here. Today, we are celebrating democracy by having the annual executive candidate debate that will hopefully guide you in making the decisions that are best for you to vote for your next student council executives. My name is Kayla Bassnight, and I'll be helping to facilitate this event with our moderator, Professor Elton Beckett. Professor Beckett will lead the debate and will outline rules and times that all candidates must follow. We also have a time assistant. Can you please stand? This is important for all of you to know because there will be a 5-second warning with a sign that our time assistant is holding, and then there will also be a time's up alarm.
It won't be that fast.
So this is your timekeeper. You want to be able to pay attention to her in regards to time. Please be reminded that if time does allow, we will be having questions from both in-person and the live stream from the audience members. In order to be able to ask your question, you have to submit it via the form that's been advertised. There's a QR code on the screen here in the room on campus, as well as on the live stream, there's a QR code and link for you to be able to submit questions from afar. So, actually, an important thing to know about the questions is to make sure that you submit those at the latest 2:30 p.m. The form will close at 2:30 p.m. And if time permits, we'll be able to ask them, and we'll be asking them in the way that they come in. So, with that being said, this is our approach to having an equitable way that audience members from both on campus and via live stream can participate in the questioning of our candidates. I will now pass the microphone over to Professor Beckett to continue with the program.
Thank you, Kayla. Welcome, candidates and guests. It is a pleasure to be with you and to moderate this event. The rules are simple. Each candidate will have 1 minute and 15 seconds for opening statements and the same amount of time for closing statements. For questions, Kayla will randomly select from the candidate question envelopes. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. Should you want to offer a rebuttal, you will have 1 minute to do so. You must raise your hand if you want to offer a rebuttal. Time will be allocated after all candidates have spoken. The time assistant will raise a sign to notify candidates that there are 15 seconds left to wrap up. Once your time is ended, we will move on to the next candidate. That said, we thank you all for being here and wish all candidates the best of luck. We will now begin opening statements from our candidate for president, Yarik Munoz.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Hilton, for the opportunity and for being here as a moderator. I also like to thank everyone here present and virtually for tuning in. This is a big decision that's here for the John Jay community. I'm glad everyone here is participating in it. Thank you.
Your opening statement?
Oh,
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll have the opening statement from Vice President Jamella Richmond, Vice President candidate.
Thank you, Professor Elton. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jamella Richmond. I'm currently the sophomore representative cohort leader for Student Council as I'm running for Vice President. This really means a lot to me today, and I do thank you again for coming out. For me, leadership is not about authority, but rather about collaboration, so I can't wait to collaborate with all of you and see what we can accomplish. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And next we'll hear from our treasurer candidate, In-Deria Barrows.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Professor Elton, for being here and being our moderator today. My name is In-Deria Barrows. I am also a sophomore on Student Council, a sophomore representative. I am running for treasurer, which is the chief financial officer, for Student Council. I have been a member on council since I was a freshman, so I have seen issues and I have initiatives that I think would be great in this role. So I look forward to working with everybody, working with different committees, and doing my part to make Student Council better.
Thank you. And finally, we will hear from our secretary candidate, David Mao.
Hi, everyone. And thank you, Professor Evans, to be the moderator. And my name is David Mao, even though people probably know me otherwise. But contrary to what other people think, I'm actually the newcomer to the council. And as secretary, my duty is actually to make sure all the records have been well kept of what happened in the student council. And I hope that I can work with the rest of my executive member to solve whatever issue that you guys will have. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, for your opening statements. We will continue with our first round of questions for the candidates. You'll have 2 minutes to answer your question and 1 minute to offer rebuttal to another candidate's answer. The question for the president is first, and Kayla will randomly select a question from the envelope. And your random question is, John Jay is perhaps the most diverse student body of all CUNY colleges, and as a student council president, you will be leading the student body representing the college. How will you ensure that all voices, regardless of their status, gender, sexual orientation, political affiliation, etc., will be represented in your administration?
Thank you for the question. I'd like to add that we've encountered some issues like this with council being seen as only representing one side. But we've more times than one proved that council is neutral and we will accept all beliefs and positions, no matter where you come from, what you identify as, or what you're seen as. We've also like to work with people because the council is very diverse. We take everyone's opinions. Council is also open when we do have these talks about releasing statements or continuing any initiatives. Our council meetings are open to the public, so we are there to listen to what the general student body has to say. So it's not like a single-minded decision.
Thank you. And now we'll have our question for Vice President candidate. And your question is, what is one goal you would like to accomplish if elected as Vice President to help the student body?
Thank you for the question. I actually have 2 initiatives or goals that I would like to see for. Yeah, I'm like, am I heard?
And yours is working perfectly.
Thank you for your question. I would actually like to see 2 goals accomplished of mine. For one, I want to provide another refocus on female hygienic products available throughout all 3 buildings. I know we were able to get it for new building, but I want to ensure that females have different alternatives, not only tampons, but sanitary pads as well, throughout new building, Westport, and Huron. And also I'd like to bring more awareness on the Wellness Center. I feel like we know what the Wellness Center is, but we don't always utilize it. So I would like to collaborate with them and work on initiatives like Wellness Week, where we learn about mental stigmas, mental health, but also have a safe space to talk about our own. As I've grown up in a household, like I'm sure many of you have, mental health was stigmatized. So John Jay should be a place where that's our safe space to talk about these discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll have our question for the treasurer. As Student Council Treasurer, you will serve as the Chief Financial Officer. How will you ensure clear communication of financial information between the Student Council and the college community?
Thank you for that question. So like I've stated before, I have served on council as a representative, and I am aware of some of the issues that happen between like budgeting and communication. I feel like communication is not very effective in regards to how our budget is allocated, and also the budget is allocated to different clubs. Not a lot of the members or treasurers on those committees understand fully the role or how they're supposed to play their part. And I feel like having all the members come together to understand what each budget means or how to utilize their budgets would be a great start or way to initiate communication to let them firstly know their roles.
Thank you. And now a question for the secretary candidate. What challenges do you foresee with your position, and how do you plan on overcoming them?
Thank you for the question. And as the secretary of the student council, even though mostly my duty is to make sure the record of each meeting was well kept, but as a part of the executive board, I would like to overcome three problems. Is that one, there's like a student complaint about the student facility is not sufficient for all the students. So I hope that by working with other part of the executive board, we can actually like give a better student facility, including more chairs to our fellow students, so that they don't have to
Thank you.
have a spot to sit. Thank you.
And with that, we end round one and begin round two. We'll start with a question for the treasurer. What is one goal you would like to accomplish if elected as treasurer to help the student body?
So if elected treasurer, I don't only have one goal in mind, but I have two. So firstly, I feel like the presence of council on campus, you don't hear about council as much, or it's like not the most aware committee. And I feel like we should have a sense of stronger presence because we are the student body for the school. So if elected treasurer, I would work definitely with my colleagues to make our presence be felt more on campus. Also, I spoke about this in the prior question. Like I said, I feel like there's a problem with communication of the budgets, and as such, we have a lot of issues surrounding the community in regards to budgets and conflicts. So I will definitely work with other clubs and committees to fix these issues and let them understand the allocation of funds.
Thank you. And the next question is for the secretary candidate. What is one goal you would like to accomplish if elected as secretary to help the student body?
Actually, I actually have three goals. First is to try to improve, expand more affordable full option for the student body. As after a personal investigation, I realized that unfortunately, if you want to have a full summit, you have to pay more than you could. But if you want cheap food, you don't got enough for you. So I want to work on that too, so that more students can actually have an affordable full option that's not overly expensive. And secondly, I also want to bring better student facility for students so that they don't have to, feel that the John Jay is like a big empty space. And lastly, I want to bring back a student community that's reconcile of all the issues outside campus. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question is for the president candidate. How has your current and past experience as part of John Jay Student Council prepared you for this position?
Thank you for the question. As vice president, which I forgot to mention earlier, I currently am in student council. I've taken is the mic working? Yeah, right? I've taken the role as interim president twice, and having to do both roles, I think I have the experience to be able to with the president's role, that being chairing the meetings, not just with student council, but with the board of directors, attending all the mandate meetings that were for president and vice president. So I think I'd be able to just continue using that experience that I've had as vice president and interim president towards the presidency.
Okay. And the final question in this round is for the vice presidential candidate. As student council vice president, you often serve in a supportive role to the president. How do you plan on creating a positive working relationship with the president while ensuring effective communication in order to properly represent the student body?
Thank you for your question. Well, for one, I've worked alongside Yarik since my freshman year. We both started as representatives, and I was in his SRC committee where we dealt with student representative applications and deadlines. So we do have a positive working relationship, And I'm sure we will continue that. We've already discussed our plans for next semester and just how we hope to continue to unite throughout the entire year. So I have no worries.
Okay.
Thank you.
And with that, we move to our third and final round of questions for our candidates, beginning with the vice presidential candidate. What? You gave me another sheet. How do you plan on advocating for communities you don't identify with?
Thank you for your wonderful question. Well, for one, being that I'm in charge of student representative vacancies and just vacancies throughout council as a whole, I want to ensure that the application process remains diverse. And I want students to be comfortable enough to come to me and express their thoughts or opinions and just pose their questions that they may have about the application process. I want to ensure that everyone is represented in council, independent of race, gender, or even major. So I would establish a collaborative role between the student body and my council.
Thank you. And the next question is for our treasurer candidate. What is the most difficult decision you have had to make during a recent leadership position? How did you arrive at your decision? What was the result?
Thank you for that question. So I recently had to make a difficult decision more recently than we would think. This is like happened 2 days ago. And it was actually a issue here on campus with our current student council body. And what I realized is, going back to communication, like lack of communication is really such a big thing, and it could cause like major misunderstandings. So what me and my current colleagues had to do, we had to try our best to communicate as efficiently as possible. Now, that does not mean that you're always going to get the response that you need, but it's important that you always try to meet a common ground to get rid of conflict. So yeah, that's what we had to do. We had to communicate and try our best to let the people or everybody that was involved understand what was happening and what we needed to do to move forward.
Thank you. And the next question will be for our secretary candidate. Give me an example of a time when you were able to successfully communicate with another person, even when that individual may not have personally liked you, or vice versa.
Like, there was one example when I was like reaching some of my final signature for me to run as the secretary, and I did that in the fitness center. There was one person that at first questioned me, say, "Why do you want to run for secretary of the student council?" And at that time, though, I did not get a chance to convince him. However, after I handed in the list to Director Kaya, what happened is that that person came to me and say, "Let me hear what you your proposal." And after I told him, that person say, "Well, I want to sign your list now because you actually make me believe that there's a chance, there's a hope." However, I have to tell him, unfortunately, that I already given the list, but I still thank him for asking it. Thank you.
Thank you. And final question is for president candidate. If elected as president, how do you reassure students that all your decisions will benefit them, and how transparent will you be to students?
Thank you for the question. Based on the previous experience I've had with council and statements and other things that we've discussed with council, I want to make sure that the records that we keep when we have our meetings and when we go forward with decisions are made public. And I also would like to advertise more awareness of the student council meetings, because as was mentioned by one of my colleagues before, we aren't recognized as big at some other clubs or apartments here at John Jay, and it's seen as a shock when decisions are made, and they're like, why were we not involved in these decisions? Why do we not know about it? Why? We need to know why. But I feel like if we advertise our meetings more and more clubs and collaborations between clubs, departments, which is what I hope to establish those relationships with CPC, which is Club Planning Committee, which is something I'd like to bring back next semester, where we could sit down with all the executives of clubs and discuss any huge issues, problems, or what we discussed in council. So it can spread out to the community, not just through Instagrams or statement, but it could also be directly with their communities.
Thank you. And with that, we have some questions entered from the people looking out there. Hi, candidates. Besides events, what is one way that you would improve the community at John Jay? And I'll let each of you answer that, starting with President, candidate Yarik.
Thank you. Besides events like I just mentioned, I want to focus on some issue that's been brought up more than once, is the lack of communication between departments, because John Jay offers so many incredible opportunities with the Career Center, with the Wellness Office. It could be I feel like it's just not known unless you're involved in the community as much as some members are here. I feel like spreading out awareness of what John Jay offers it's not an event, but like just to be able to know the information that John Jay is offering you this opportunity, and if you don't know about it or just are not in the know, you miss out on it, and I feel like that's a problem that a lot of John Jay students are suffering with.
Okay, thank you. And Vice Presidential candidate?
I feel like empathy is very important and is often a factor that lacks with our student council, at least with our perception from other people outside of us. I want people to understand that we are students and we're human just like them. I want to provide a humanistic and just sympathetic figure for people that come to council. And that starts with how we speak to people, with how we act, and how they view us. So I want people to understand that council's an open space that they can come into if they have nowhere to eat, if they just want to relax, if they want to study. And that starts with our e-board. So by opening council up to the general school population, it'll trickle down and they will see how us as a whole are just students, just like them at the end of the day.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Treasurer candidate?
Okay, so for those of you who do not know, I am a STEM student. I am a cell and molecular biology major. And I feel like first and foremost thing that as my major, it comes as a shock to a lot of people because they don't even know that John Jay has that major. So recently I have attended the career fair and I realized there were a lack of STEM options at that career fair. And I feel like also like the community here at John Jay is a little desensitized towards STEM students. So I feel like aside from events, like making a community more available for STEM students or making opportunities and other policies available to them. Like for example, if you're a STEM student, you're not accepted into ASAP. Yeah, so I feel like there are programs that we could initiate to make STEM students feel like they have a sense of belonging on campus, and also to just have resources available and ready to them, like as much as they're available to the criminal justice students or the political science students, just making it a wider community for all of us.
Thank you. And Secretary candidate?
And as for me, I wish to actually like sit down and talking with people as I did during my petition days, when I actually sit down with every one of respondents that actually in the sign my petition. Actually, I listen carefully to their requests and concerns, and I hope that by making student council more acceptable to different opinions and ideas, we can ensure that everyone's voice is heard throughout John Jay.
Thank you. And we have another question. What past qualifications make you fit for this position? And we will start this one with the Secretary.
For me, my past qualification is that I was actually a photographer working for my high school yearbook committee. And even though I never get a chance to take the picture due to the COVID, but by working with the yearbook committee in my high school, I actually know what me to be leadership. And that's the beginning of my wish to be part of the student council. And later on, when I had to volunteer for a non-government NGO by helping them to clean the facility and to actually keep the premise safe. And later in my life, I actually try to do and still do today, the NYPD Cadet Corps, because that program requires you to have the ability to lead the people behind you. So that's why I think I was qualified for this job.
Thank you. And we'll go from there to the treasurer.
Oh. Okay, so experience that I have that I have acquired that I think makes me suitable for this role. So firstly, not only does the treasurer serve as the chief financial officer, as in deals with all the money and fiscal parts of being on council, but we also have to work with people more than ever. So firstly, I was raised in Jamaica, and I went to high school there. I was able to acquire a certification in accounting, so I think that makes me monetarily wise, fiscally wise. Also, I have always served on committees and clubs like as PRO, as secretary, to be able to communicate with people. I think I'm a very good talker and a very good listener, so I feel like having those skills will make me able to communicate efficiently with other members who I need to communicate with, and just make council better, because I have ideas, I have initiatives, so I feel like I have the experience that I need to put these initiatives into place.
And Vice President candidate.
Thank you. I was looking forward to this question. I have immense experience both inside and outside of John Jay. My roots of advocacy and leadership really began in high school. I was president of my high school student government for 4 years, along with president of the school's mock trial, debate team, moot court, to go on. But in John Jay, I also have experience in being a part of 3 administrations across only 2 years, and more to come. And as well, I have been a part of the council's SRC, which is the Student Search Representative Committee, the ad hoc committee for treasurer, the ad hoc committee for president, and the ad hoc committee for secretary, which is all searching for these roles to join us and fill that vacancy. So I know what it means to not only lead, but also meet deadlines and search to fill these vacancies in our council. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Mr. President candidate.
Thank you. As I mentioned before, my position this semester was vice president. I have taken over as interim president 2 different times in this administration. But for outside of John Jay, I am also a community liaison at the Office of Assembly Member Raga's office. So working with constituents or the student body, I've been trying to make this better some way, shape, or form. So this semester, trying to ensure that most clubs get their funding, make sure it's a fair way to be funding, because I was part of the committee on clubs. Going further, making sure all clubs have, even after their funding runs out, to make sure they can hit their events using our student council room. Not just that, also making sure they can fund their events, because as we know, sometimes due to more clubs being brought up, the budget has to be stretched a little thinner.
Thank you. And our last random question.
We have 2.
Oh, we have 2 more.
Oh, one just-
Being the newcomer on the board, as you stated, which one is this for?
This is the
Secretary.
secretary.
Secretary candidate. Being the newcomer on board, as you stated, what do you stand to gain from the secretary position? Do you need me to read that again?
No,
Okay.
thank you, Professor. And as a by become the secretary, I hope that I know how to to the actual communication skill and also to become the person that most people remember as a council member that actually like listen to people's concern, because like another reason why people does not know student council that much is that they didn't know that we exist. They never saw like council member actually like talking to them and listen to the concerns. So I hope that I can be a listener and great communicator. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is for all the candidates. If communication is such a big thing for the council, why are we refrained from knowing much about the investigation going on with the previous president? And we'll start with the president candidate.
I was just about to ask if I could start. The reason we are not allowed to release information about the ex-president is due to the fact that there's an ongoing investigation, which we mentioned yesterday at the State of the Student Council. And I believe I could speak for everyone up here with me. No, we can't give out the information until we get the green light from the people above us. So I'm sorry that we've mentioned that once we have the information that we can give you, you guys will be the first to find out at our next State of the Student Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add to that? Jamella?
I also want to emphasize that the situation ongoing right now just goes to show how much we pride ourselves on communication. We do not want to give out information that is false or untrue and create more miscommunication between us and the student body. What's going on right now is not desirable, and we want to ensure that you guys get correct information at a swift pace. So as soon as we get information, we're going to ensure that you get it as soon as we do. Thank you guys for being so understanding. Thank you so much.
With that, we will go to closing statements. All candidates have 1 minute and 15 seconds each for their closing statements, and we will start with the secretary candidate.
Once again, Professor Alvin, thank you for letting me to speak here today, and I hope that I can work with not only the people inside the executive part of the student council, but also the old member of the student council and actually the rest of the student body, so that we can together try to make John Jay College the best criminal justice college the nation or even the world have ever known. Thank you.
Thank you. And from there, we go to the treasurer candidate.
So as stated before, I want to thank you again for being our moderator today. I really hope that you guys elect me to be your treasurer, although there's no competition, so. But I have, like I said before, I have initiatives that I would like to put in place. So if elected treasurer, I will definitely try my best to serve the John Jay community, fiscally, idealistically, in all the ways that I can help or think I'll be able to help. Thank you.
And we go from there to our vice presidential candidate.
Thank you all for coming out today and for viewing online. Your support for us means a lot. And I just want to stress that, as you've seen from today's debate, leadership is not foreign to neither myself or my colleagues up here. So I hope we're able to efficiently lead you guys. And of course, please feel free to pass by L269 with any concerns or just to chat. Thank you guys so much.
And with that, we go to our presidential candidate.
Thank you, Professor Elton, for moderating this event. Thank you, Kayla, for hosting this event and giving us the outlet to be able to answer the questions the community has for us and also state what we have going forward. I also want to thank everyone here and that's here virtually for the questions and for being such a great audience. Also, while we're there, Jamella touched on it. We are, at least I could speak for myself, I am always available at L269. If you have any questions, please stop by. I basically live there some days, so just don't feel shy to come. Ask for the vice president. They'll get to our work study in the front. They'll come and grab me. I have no problem talking to anyone from the student body. Thank you.
Thank you all for being present here today and participating in this debate. Good luck to all the student council candidates in the upcoming 2024-25 council election period. And I just want to end by saying, those of you who are looking, those of you who are in the room, what all the candidates have emphasized is that we all are student government. I'm part of Faculty Senate, which is our student government. So the more of you that are involved, the more your student government moves forward. And you see you have enthusiastic candidates here, so I hope that you have made the decision that you're going to support them and participate. So with that, we close, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Voting starts on Monday, April 15th at 9 a.m., and it ends on Thursday, April 18th at 5 p.m. Please vote on J-Stop.